Hey friends, this video is for our kindergarten through 4th grade team for May, week 2. All month long, our life app is commitment, making a plan and putting it into practice. And our monthly memory verse, I actually showered today. How exciting is that? All right, training the body has some value, but being godly has value in every way. It promises help for the life you are now living and the life to come. 1 Timothy 4:8. That's our memory verse for this month. It's a long one. I've been practicing it with my kids, and they are having a hard time with it. So we're going to keep practicing it here at church. So this story this week is called Till I Hear It From You, and it's about the wise and foolish builders from Matthew 7, the Sermon on the Mount. And our bottom line for this week is practice hearing from God. So all month long, we're practicing these life skills of how to build our faith through commitment. And this week is we're practicing hearing from God. That's what the focus is all about. So as kids roll in, say a prayer for them before the day starts. Make sure that you get to know their names, what grade, what school they go to. Try to make some connections for them. And then especially for our older kids, as they start to roll in, you can have them help you fill out this Mad Libs type thing. That's how to build a house, and it'll just be a silly thing. So as kids come in, you could maybe ask them a different question, and then when service starts at 9 and 11, you could read the whole story to them to let them know that you filled it in. Then when service starts, your little opening activity, what you're going to have is a bunch of cups. I don't know if you could see them for little kids, bottom of the cart, big kids, top of the cart. We're using cups a lot this week. And I didn't tape a starting and finishing line because small groups are in and out of the rooms. So what I'm doing is putting one of those Velcro dots on every cart, and you guys can just put the starting and ending Velcro dot wherever you would like, okay? So you're going to split kids into teams of 4 or 5, or maybe just split them into 2 groups, and each team is going to have a towel and the same amount of cups. And tell kids they're going to have 1 minute as a team to build a structure on top of the towel with their cups. And once the minute is up, their entire team has to pull the towel across the room and cross the finish line. And if any of their structure falls over, they have to go back to the start line, rebuild, and pull again. So obviously this is going to be very difficult to do. And you're going to say, so that was really hard. The building part was easy, but making sure it didn't fall was really tough. We're going to head to large group where we hear about 2 men who built houses, and we'll see what happened to what they built. So then you're going to head to large group across the hall at 10 after. When large group is over, you have several options for things to do. So as you watch this video, think about what is best for your small group. Maybe you'll have time to get through all of them. Maybe you'll want to prioritize one over the other. I am also marking in your adventure Bibles. Here's the little story of the parable that Jesus gave about the wise and foolish builder. You can kind of show them the difference between the house on the rock and the house on the sand. And you can even read the other parables from the Sermon on the Mount if you would like. So here's the first activity called Secret Sentence. So the page looks like this. It's geared towards younger kids, but I think the older kids would like it just as much. And what you're going to do is there's images on the paper, and on the box underneath each image, they're going to discover the hidden message by writing the letter that the image starts with. So for the first one, it's a penguin, so they would write a P. Big kids could even do this before large group if they had time, because they will probably do that very quickly. So you may need to help some of our younger kids. Hopefully now they're toward the end of kindergarten, so they should know most of their letters. But you'll have to read their little hidden message for them as they finish, which is practice hearing from God. And instruct them to turn their page over if they have some time, and they can draw a picture of a way that they could practice hearing from God. So it could be reading the Bible, doing a devotional, praying, listening at church. And when they're done drawing, they can share what they draw. They might not have time for that, but that's okay. So then you guys are just going to say, you guys did a great job. Let's all say our bottom line together. Practice hearing from God. And then make it personal. Share a time when you've heard from God, maybe through reading the Bible or doing a devotional or listening to a teaching. Then another review activity that you can do is called Built to Order. So in your folder, you've got this instruction sheet, and it's really silly. So like it says things like, in a whisper, say, someone whose first or last name starts with a vowel. Place 2 cups on top of the base of 4. So these are all instructions. So you'll start at number 1, and it gives them instructions for how to build a tower, but with kind of silly ways. So you're going to give them the cups again, and then put them in circles around their materials and tell them that they can build as long as they listen carefully to the instructions. And then you're going to read from it and warn kids to listen carefully, because if anybody builds something that's not in the instructions, they have to start over. Okay? Yes, perfect. And so then you're close it down by saying, you guys had to listen carefully during this game. Why was listening so important? You had to wait for the instructions. You didn't always understand. You couldn't just do whatever you wanted. So listening is important. And what do we usually use to listen? Our ears, right? But when we talk about hearing from God, we don't always use our ears. And we don't usually hear God's voice like you can hear mine right now. So how do we hear from God? By reading the Bible, from others who are following Jesus, paying attention at church. When we read our Bible, we hear what Jesus said. When someone else reads the Bible to us or tells us stories, like in large group, we hear from God. And in our Bible story today, we heard that just listening about God isn't the end of hearing. We have to do what we hear. Just like in our game, you had to do what you heard me say. So what should you do to practice hearing from God? Listen, read the Bible. And then here's some optional discussion questions for our older kids too. Okay, then another activity, I've got a poster board for every group that will be by your cart, one for each service. So what you're going to do is brainstorm words that rhyme, and then you're going to write several pairs of rhyming words on your poster board, like boat and goat, chair and bear, church and birch. Read that one carefully. And then you're going to divide your groups into pairs and give each pair a piece of paper, a pencil, crayons. This is definitely going to be something for our older kids probably, not for our younger kids, unless you want to do it all together for the younger kids. And have them cooperate to create one page of a story called We Can Hear God. And have them use words on the poster to inspire them to write phrases kind of like green eggs and ham. So I can hear God. And then underneath the title, have them write a few rhyming sentences like I can hear him at my home. I can hear him near a gnome. So I could see the girls really liking to do this. Boys and younger kids, maybe you could do this together. Okay? Then, and another activity that you can do, this is our memory verse activity, so I would encourage everyone to do this one. Super easy. You're just going to look up 1 Timothy 4:8 in your Bibles, and then you're going to send one kid out of the room. And while that kid is out of the room, you're going to choose a kid to say the memory verse out loud over and over. And then you're going to instruct the rest of the group to say something else, like a nursery rhyme or something that everybody knows. So maybe like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, something like that. And then bring the kid back into the room and direct them to find the voice that is saying the memory verse while everyone else is saying something different. And they get 3 guesses, and if they choose the correct person, then that person gets to go out of the room and be the next guesser. So super fun little game. You're going to say, that was tricky. Why was it so hard to hear our memory verse? Because all the other people were talking, right? Well, when we practice hearing from God, sometimes that means tuning out the other things in our lives that make a lot of noise, not just in our ears and in our minds, but things that make it hard to concentrate. What could those things be? Screens, toys, what our friends think, distractions, all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of noise in our lives. How do you or could you quiet those things and practice hearing from God? So maybe putting their phone away from them when they're trying to pray or read their Bible. This is a great lesson even for adults, right? So just talking about kids to practice hearing from God. And then you're just going to close down in prayer. So you're going to say the part of the prayer that's bold and then have the kids respond in the part that is in parentheses where they say, we will practice hearing from God. A little, kind of reminds me of Catholic Church right there a little bit, but it's fun. It's a good way to just reiterate what we've learned today. So that is it for this week. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for serving. So grateful for every single one of you. We are working to make our small group team stronger, getting back to trying to have small group leaders instead of just whole class leaders. But you guys are amazing. Thank you for continuing to serve, and happy Mother's Day to all of our mothers. We'll see you guys on Sunday.